Hello, welcome to my presentation on my favorite sensation and perception thing. I'd specifically like to talk to you about color blindness and designing for dichromatism. Dichromatism comes in three major types. There's protanope, which is commonly referred to as red color blindness. This means that when you see red, that the wavelengths that you're seeing are harder to distinguish between other colors. Red can come off as blue or generally comes off as gray and will not be able to be distinguished between other colors. Deuteranopia is commonly referred to as green color blindness. This is the same sort of thing, and these together are referred to as red-green color blindness. And then we have tritanopia, which has trouble distinguishing between blue and yellow for their color blindness. Now, a lot of the times, these things can be affecting affecting other people's lives, whether this be through using certain apps or even going day-to-day experiences and trying to distinguish between red and green lights at a stop sign. So what I did is I looked at a UX design site called Usabilla, and they had a couple different key factors to try to help design around color blindness and help design for people with dichromatism. So one of the first things that was talked about was using both colors and symbols. This is possible in like a a form to fill out your information instead of just displaying a red circle for your information is incomplete. There's a red circle with an X in it, or there's a green circle with a check mark in it to help better distinguish between two different states of being. Also, keeping it minimal is a key factor. Keeping the amount of colors that are used is very helpful. Using like black and white design is really useful in addition to keeping a clear and consistent color scheme. Also, for if you're displaying a graph, generally we use graphs with a color basis, and it's helpful to use different textures and shadings on them to view like stripes for one sort of amount of data, and to use like squares for another type of data to help better distinguish between these things. In addition to that, to be careful with contrasting colors and hues. It's very useful to make sure that the hues that are being used are all-encompassing and will allow for people to be able to distinguish between colors even if there is a color blindness happening on their end. In addition to that, avoiding bad color combinations. Red and green are generally ones that people have trouble distinguishing between, and blue and orange are something that most people with dichromatism can distinguish between, and unless you have something that is a rare form of color blindness. So a lot of the times there's very common solutions that happen in video games actually. One of my favorite video games of the past is Final Fantasy XIV, and what they did was a very simple way to help people with color blindness. So as you can see right here, we have their color filtering system, and this accounts for the three main types of color blindness, and you can change the color filtering to change the entire game into that. However, in doing that, that's not always the most useful thing. Sometimes that makes the game that you're actually watching be a lot harder to tell what's going on even still, or the greens and purples that can be very harsh on the eyes. Sometimes smaller changes and more precision-based tools are necessary. So one of the things that a game called Battlefield does is actually allow you not just the ability to change to a color scheme that works best for your type of dichromatism, but also being able to change specific UI elements to be the color that you would actually prefer them to be, instead of just a preset color that isn't as useful for you because your experience is different than other people's. Um, in addition to that, Game Maker's Toolkit referenced in their video on color blindness and accounting for disability a game called Chromagun, which does a callback to using symbols for colors. As we can see right here, we actually have the three primary colors. We have blue, yellow, and red. And for each of those, they have a symbol associated with them. Blue has the horizontal line, yellow has the vertical line, and red has the circle. And from there, the the secondary colors are a combination of these colors, so that even though this is a color heavy game, that is a puzzle based game that needs the use of colors, you can still be able to solve the puzzles by using the combinations of symbols to show purple, green, and orange, and black. In addition to this, a lot of designers can do their best to actually design it so that your game does not need to be played with the use of color. That helps to alleviate some of the concerns and can be tested for with using online tools and software. In addition to that, one of the other things that is interesting that people have been using to deal with color blindness is Inchromata colorblind glasses. These have been viral videos that have been shown to be put on in lenses to help distinguish between different colors for colorblind people. And from their website, the way that they claim that this works is that their optical lens technology selectively filters out wavelengths of light at the precise point where the confusion and excess overlap of color sensitivity occurs. Unfortunately, this is not a permanent solution, as these glasses can be taken off and it does nothing to actually correct the cones that aren't working properly, but it is a solution that can help bring a little bit of color into somebody's life. And thank you so much for listening to my presentation.